Hello everyone, welcome back to Optimize FPL. Like I said before, I'm hosting the Pizza Premier League. It's something that I found on Reddit last season and I ended up winning, so this season I'm going to be hosting it. The winner of the cup or the league win a pizza, so please feel free to enter and the link down below. Okay, so getting right into the video, this is the best set and forget team based on projected scores for the end of the season. Um, this team is very interesting. I think it makes a lot of sense. So I know it's a very niche thing for people to only have a set and forget team in certain leagues, but if anybody is going to be doing a set and forget league, I think this team could really be one of the best. So let's get into it. Starting off in net is Lloris. I think that makes a lot of sense, to be honest. I mean, Tottenham's defense has gotten a lot better this season under Conte. We're playing three at the back, kind of almost a five at the back system. So there's going to be a lot more defensive assets that are going to be defending Lloris. But we do still make lots of mistakes. So don't get me wrong, like the Tottenham defense is going to be a lot better, but it's still going to have lots of mistakes in it, which means that there's going to be more save points for Lloris. There's going to be hopefully more bonus points because he's probably going to be passing around a lot more. He's got more options to pass to in a three at the back system compared to a four. I'm hoping that Lloris can do very well this season. I think he can. I think Tottenham as a whole can do very well this season, so I think it makes a lot of sense to have him in the net. Moving on to the defense. So in the back four, I mean, not surprising here, let's be honest. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Cancelo, very obvious picks. They picked both James and Chilwell over the entire season. I think they'll do very well, assuming that Chilwell doesn't get injured. A lot of this has to do with people getting injured, right? So, like last season, I had Bamford in my set and forget team, and he got injured for basically the entire season, so it was basically a wash. I think it ended up with like less than 2,000 points in the end. So having Chilwell in there is a little bit of a risk, I'd say, but also the reward can be absolutely monumental. Same with James a little bit, I guess. James also has a little bit of an injury record, but I think Chelsea's defense as a whole is a really, really solid defense. So I think that both of them combined could really do well this season, assuming that they stay fit, which is, I know, a big concern for both of them. Cancelo as vice captain. That's because I think it's obvious that we're gonna have Salah in here in a few seconds, and he's going to be the perma captain. But you don't want Trent Alexander-Arnold being the vice captain because if Salah misses a game or something, or there's a blank game week for Liverpool and there's not one for Man City, you want someone in there that can get the captaincy on because that's like double points that you'd be just wasting. So Cancelo vice captain, I think makes a lot of sense. He's going to play basically every single game for Man City in the league. The new number seven of the team, it's pretty incredible what he's going to be able to do this season. I think he's going to be a great asset, especially for a set and forget team. And Trent Alexander-Arnold, I mean, he averages I think like 190 points per season for the past like 4 or 5 seasons. You bring him in your team, you sit him there, you forget about it, you don't even think about it. So those are like the four best players. I'm not surprised they're in the team. Yeah, let's move on to the midfield now because that's where it gets a little bit more interesting. Okay, so here's the midfield. Like we were talking about, Salah, perma captain at 13 million. Unsurprising. Yeah, he's projected to get the most points in the game. I think he's projected to get like 400 points or something stupid like that, or 300 points. I can't remember what it was, but or sorry, 400 points after captaincy. So like 250 points, something crazy like that. So he's definitely in the team no matter what. He's going to make so many points this season. It's going to be ridiculous. Foden, I think, is a little bit more of an interesting one. I mean, overall, throughout the entire season, Foden's probably going to play like, what, 25, 26, 27 games. So he's going to play a majority of the games, just barely, probably like 75% of games. Um, and that's enough for a Man City asset. I think that's a lot of potential points because Man City, when they go out there, they score lots of goals. Foden's always involved in the play. I think that he's a good choice. I don't know. I might think that maybe someone like Saka or something like that, or Mount, someone who's a little bit more nailed, could potentially be a better option at 8 million. Like we're talking about now with the 8 millions, Diaz as well is a really, really good option at Liverpool. He doesn't really have a lot of competition on the left wing. I know Jota can play there, and Darwin Nunes can also play there, but I really doubt that they're actually going to play there. You know, there's like a huge difference between like they can and they will. But yeah, Diaz is at left spot nailed down, so I would be surprised if he doesn't play in that position. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense there. Zaha's a little bit of an interesting one. I guess Crystal Palace do look a lot better than they did a couple seasons ago under Vieira. I think that their defensive options are probably a little bit better for a long-term season, but I guess Zaha, he is on penalties. He'd be very interesting to keep for the entire season. I think that he could do well. My personal opinion, I think that Foden probably is the worst player in this team so far. Maybe Chilwell, just because they have a little bit too much rotation risk. They have a little bit too much injury risk. You might want something that's a little bit more stable. Like for Chilwell, you might think instead of getting Chilwell, you could get someone like Diaz for 6 million. It's a little bit safer of an option. Foden, you might go for someone like Saka or Mount. You'd honestly switch Foden and Chilwell to Mount and Diaz, and it'd be very, very similar results, in my opinion. So moving on to the forward line, it's a bit of an interesting one. We got Jesus and Mitrovic. Jesus makes a lot of sense, like we said before. Arsenal's fixtures opening season are really good, and I think that just overall for the entirety of the season, Jesus is a really really good asset. Just because like he's going to be the front man of a top five team in Arsenal, who are very young, very attacking, very fluid in their attack. Jesus can play in multiple positions as well. He's not just necessarily a striker. If Nketiah comes back and starts banging in goals, Jesus can play on the left, play on the right. Even potentially in Cam. I'm not sure if he's ever played in like that central attacking mid role for if Odegaard's not feeling well or injured. So Jesus definitely is very very versatile player. Could be great asset for a set and forget team. Mitrovic as well, I think, is a very interesting one. Obviously, Fulham's fixtures are really really bad to start the season, and Mitrovic he starts well in the championship the season before, and then the next season when he gets to the Premier League, he bombs it. So we'll have to see if Mitrovic can do it this season. I think he can do it this season, but I just think that his opening fixtures are really bad. But over the entirety of the season, I think he can get like anywhere between 10 and 15 goals, which I think would keep Fulham up in the end. So Mitrovic is a very interesting one. A couple of interesting ones there where they're not inside the top six where you think they would be, like Zaha and Mitrovic. You think that a set and forget team would basically only pick players that are in the top 5 or 6 teams, just considering the prices this season. But I think they're very interesting picks. Zaha doesn't really concern me for injuries. I think that he'd be fine for that throughout the entirety of the season. Same with Mitrovic, to be honest. The only things that I personally would change, because I know this is all based on predicted points and not what actually happens on the field, I think I would change Chilwell and change Foden to probably DS and Mount, just to keep it a little bit safer. But yeah, moving on to the bench, we actually had an extra zero point 0.5 million left over from what our usual bench is. So we have Foster and net, just because if Lloris goes out, Foster is the next best one. So I think it just makes a lot of sense. Andres, 4.5 million Fulham. Makes the most sense. He's the one that's projected to get the most points at 4.5 million. Nico Williams at 4 million. He's also projected to get the most points at 4 million. So I thought it just made sense. And then at 5 million, we have Surge from Nottingham Forest. I don't know how much he's going to play, but we had an extra zero point 0.5 million extra because this team actually was projected. Like I tried making it 83 million and 17 million on the bench, which would have been the cheapest bench possible. But this team came out even better than a team that would be 83 million on the pitch. So I guess like Mitrovic, for example, was better than than Tony apparently for the rest of the season, or like Zaha apparently is better than Sancho, which I think is a little bit interesting. I personally would potentially maybe get Sancho over Zaha and then downgrade Surge on the bench. But you do want a relatively strong bench for a set and forget team because lots of players get injured. Like I said, Chilwell could be injured, Foden could go out just because he's benched, and then you're left with Andreas and Williams. You need those solid bench options for a team like this that's a set and forget team. For the end of the season, though, it's projected to get 2,438 points. Very, very decent. I mean, last season, I don't know what my projected score was for my set and forget team, but I ended up only getting like 1,950 points, I think, roughly. So, like, it wasn't a great season. I think I finished somewhere in like 3.5 million mark, which is very, very poor in my opinion. But it's a set and forget team. I don't get to use any chips. I don't get to use any transfers. I don't get to use anything. So I think it could be overall seen as decent, but to get 2,438 points would be absolutely ridiculous from this team. So if it can happen, maybe it's the best team to just set and forget. But yeah, that's everything for me. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. Let me know what your set and forget teams are going to be this season, if you're even doing them. I know it's a very niche thing, but I think it should be interesting to look at. Thanks. Have a good one, and cheers, everybody.